This is probably the last one. Okay, no wait, I have something for next video, which will be on further learning, where you guys can go after this. Do you have some basic knowledge? Is some other places you can go that'll help you to get better. But I did say I was gonna show you guys something kind of nice that you can do in CSS, and that's animations. So here I have opened the website we built, and here's the original one that I built when I was thinking about all the essentials about a website and trying to come up with one that would have everything that I could show you guys. And you may notice this thing in the corner right here. This thing that's looks like kind of a live logo, because it's constantly there. No matter where we go, we can scroll or whatever, but it's always there. And when we reload the page, we get like a loading animation, right? So this comes first, and now the page loads in and has that fade in effect. So I want you guys to do that, and you guys can obviously take this knowledge and then while you're making this animation, change it around and see how different things look. So I guess let's get started. So when building that animation, I came into like certain errors and all that, which I obviously figured out. So I we have to add some, obviously add some code. But the first thing is, because we want this animation always to be here wherever on the page. We need, if we if we put it in the nav section, it's only going to stay in the nav section. If we put it up here, it's only going to stay in top. If we put it in services, it could only be in services. What we need to do is we need to wrap this whole thing in one big div, and then we put the animation there. Well, just this one animation. There's I think there's three total animations. There's one, the loading one. There's one for the page to actually fade in, and then there's one for this one. So we need the one for this needs to be within this. So we're gonna have to make a whole div, which I'm gonna call it wrap. Dot wrap, and tab should give us a div. Now that this one is gonna have to go to the end of the page, all the way until there. Paste that in and save that. That we should get this wrapped div. Okay. I think I need to move this a little bit that way. So what was that one for? Alright, cool. Everything's fine on this page. Okay. I guess we just had an extra div there. It's completely fine. Okay, so we have that div that's wrap. Then we need to make another div, which is gonna say I have one. I'm just gonna call it animation, because it's gonna be the dot animation tab. And since there's no real content, because if you look at it, it's not really, there's no words or anything. There's nothing to fill in. Nothing to fill in. All we have to do is just leave it like that. And then we're gonna make up here. I'm gonna just like make one. I think I called it circle. I believe I called it circle, but there was two, so I'm just gonna go with large. Okay, I'm gonna just label this one large. Alright, now we have a div called large. Now we need to do the CSS, which is where most of this is really concentrated. I'm just gonna add a little space here and a space there, just just for my own organization. Now we go here, and I'm just gonna make a comment that's gonna say animation. Okay. This is where everything else is done. All this tells us is it gives us something to work with, because if we just start putting in animations here, it has nowhere to, like, it can't execute them because there's no markup, so it won't even be on the page. So that's why we have to put that there. Okay, so let's just start styling the. I'm gonna start with the animation. So it's just dot animation. Um, we want it to always be there, so I'm gonna make it position fixed, doesn't move. Um, when I was doing this and I started to scroll, this was starting to go behind all the other elements. It was going behind it, and you guys know we talk about z index, how close something is to you. So we make the z index 3, but it's like it's close to us, so that nothing comes in front of it. Margin from the left was 93%. Margin from the top was 0.5%. This is just like basic styling, just to position it um and get it where it was. Then the actual animation is not that much actually. So we're doing margin because if we use padding, it's gonna expand from within itself. But what we want is, we don't want it to expand from within itself. We want it to create a border around itself of the that specification. We'll make the width 50 pixels, give it a height as well of 50 pixels, and now the border is just gonna be the 1 pixel solid. Gonna go with that brown color that we seem to have like a theme of this color. Just, I'm gonna make the border that color. As you can see, we're using that color. And right now we just have a box in the corner. Okay, and I'm gonna make the background color transparent, even though I don't even think we had a background color there initially. Okay, cool, that's fine. I'm not sure why I reloaded the page, but alright. Now let's get into animating it. So we need to start by adding a keyframe. So I'm gonna go here and we put add keyframes. That's how you start off by writing an animation. You start off by that, and you now name your animation. I'm gonna just like call mine loading because it is like a loading animation, although that one is more of a loading. But I feel like this is just something like, I'm gonna just call it loading. Alright, so call it loading, and then you put curly brackets. Okay, now is when we start really making the animation. So you 0%. This is at 0% of the animation. We want the border to still be 0%, right? So we want the border. Because if we go here, 0% is a square, and you can see that it goes to a circle and to a square. So when it at 0%, it's a square. Then at 50%, at 25% of the animation, we're gonna have the border radius. Radius 25%. Now at 50%, we want the border radius at 50%. That's when it becomes a circle. And then at 75%, we want the border radius at 75. Now we say that nothing's gonna happen because all we have is the the content. We need to like execute it. So how we do that is we come to where we want to apply the animation here, and I'm gonna put animation, and you're gonna put name. We named it loading. Just type loading. That's it. And that's not gonna do anything yet because now we need to add an animation duration. How long do you want the whole thing to last? How do you want it to go from 0 to 75? I'm gonna say animation its duration. So the duration is 3 seconds in this case. Um, animation iteration count. This is the amount of times you want it to occur. It's infinite in our case because, well, as you can see, it's happening, but it's not like it's going really slow, and it's coming out really quickly. And we go back here, it's sort of not like as fast as this one is, because what we need to do is infinite. By explaining infinite, infinite is because we don't need to happen once or twice. We need to be continuously happening, which is why we use infinite as the count. And then the animation timing function, because like I said, our timing is an issue. It's going really slow then really fast, so we're gonna make it linear, right? So I'm gonna put linear, and now we should have a somewhat nice animation. I think it's good. There are others which are a little more complicated, like we'll take a look at this one here, something else that I did really quickly because this is really easy to do. All we have is some falling boxes, which is okay. And then there's others like this, which took quite a while and a lot of timing to get right. It takes quite a bit of timing to get this kind of thing down. So there are many you can do, but they're you can learn them really nicely, but it takes a bit of time. So we're going to focus on this really simple one for now. Okay, that was that animation. Now let's just do this the wrap, and the wrap animation I called it reload. So I'm gonna leave this like, okay, let's just go underneath it so that you guys can sort of structure it nicely. So I'm gonna do dot wrap, and I'm gonna make the opacity as 0, and that takes away everything. Okay, uh, and now we need to make the animation. That's all we have to do for wrap when it comes to that stuff. So it's at keyframes. I called it reload because it was the reload. Now here there's something different. We're not gonna use 0. We're not gonna use percent. We're gonna write from, because it's just very little. It's just from opacity 0 to opacity 1. That's it. Now we gotta come here and we gotta call the animation. So I'm gonna say animation. You can write it all in one line. So if you see that, if you're using, I think it's emit, it name, so animation, so name was reload, duration was how long was it? I think duration was 2 seconds. Then the I think we didn't have a timing function. We had a delay of 6.5 seconds, and you'll see why. And the fill mode is forwards. Okay, but okay, I'm gonna just write it on my one second, explain everything. So the name, I think that's pretty easy to get. It's just like the name of the animation. Now animation delay. So the delay is 6.25 seconds. That's because if we go to, okay, we go to this one, we reload the page. This is the real one. This animation takes an amount of time, and if that animation takes 6 seconds, then I have a delay for this page to load at 6.5, so it's 6.5 seconds. That is a half a second after that animation finishes, the page loads in. That's what we had to do. Okay, so we have an animation delay, and then we have an animation fill mode, which is going to be forwards. What does this mean? This means that we don't want it to go from opacity 0 to opacity 1, then go back to 0 We don't want it to be bouncing in between those two. We want it to stay forward. So it goes from, so it moves forwards. That's why like it's from to this. This is the final. That happens. It becomes the final part when we set the fill mode to forwards. Here we didn't have any fill mode because we wanted to keep going over and over. Okay. And what is the next one? Yes, large. So we're gonna go here, dot large. That's just the large logo in the middle that was loading. So I'm gonna start by adding a margin from the left of 50% because it was in the center. That loading one was in the center. So we do the transform translate. Transform. I'm gonna translate it minus 50%. That centers it. Then margin from the top. It is pretty big, so I'm gonna only add about 20% of margin from the top. The opacity of this is 0. The position is fixed. Oh yeah, we need to add a height. I made it 300 pixels the first time, and I think that it was a good height and width. Is because it needs to be pretty big. It is a loading animation, so it's like the first thing they're gonna see when the page loads. And then we have the border of the same thing as this, 1 pixel solid. Yeah, and background color should be transparent. What else? Yeah, now let's just get the animation. So to do animation large, I'm gonna be using add keyframes because it's animation large, and using 0% because we have more things to do in this case. So 0%, we want the opacity at 1, and we want the border radius at 0, right? Because it starts off as a square. Then at 50%, we're having the opacity as 1, and the border radius is now going to be 50%. It becomes a square. And then at 100% of the animation, the opacity is 1, and the border radius, wow, oh my god, border radius is 0. Okay, now let's add the animation right into this one over here. So animation name is large. Animation film mode. Let's do the film mode is none because we set the opacity to 0 here, and if we make the film mode forward, what will happen is that loading sign will stay there the whole time. We'll just have a constant loading sign over and over again because it'll stop at 100%. But if we don't have a film mode, it will return to its original state of 0% opacity. Now the animation duration, here's where I was telling you about that thing. 6-second duration because we want the page to load after reloading. The page will load 6.25 seconds after pressing reload, and this animation takes 6 seconds to complete, so we have that delay right there. And the animation timing function is gonna be again linear because we don't want it to become a circle fast and then a square slowly and things like that. And add an animation delay of 0.5 seconds just that there's a bit of time as soon as the page reloads. Okay, so I think that if we done everything correctly and we reload the page, we should get this animation. There we go, we get the loading, opens up, and we have that, and there we go, the page is in. Okay, so I hope you guys liked it. I think it's pretty cool. It's not very complicated, but it's quite easy to do. So I think that's kind of nice. And so you guys aren't really limited at all when it comes to this kind of stuff. There's animations, and if you do happen to learn JavaScript and jQuery, there's a lot more you can do. You can you can make lists, and you can have like someone type in something and that add it to the list, or any button we have here. Like, look at this. This is the feedback page. I changed it because there's like I want to show you guys. There's so much you can do. I took the regular feedback page, right, of this. And all I did was change the color of the text, make this background transparent black, and change the image. And you have this. If you guys take the this website, mess around with it, and you guys can see there's a lot of potential in this. Just these two languages alone. I recommend you guys learn JavaScript and um well, any other you want to learn, but learn JavaScript if you want to get into front end development. It's essential to it. But for right now, if you guys like this, keep going, learning a lot more about this stuff. It's really nice. Like, this animation's pretty cool and everything. So yeah, I guess that's it. We've finished of like officially finished the site, and then in the next video, I will give you guys a presentation on further learning, so you guys can keep going on and learning even more. So I'll see you in that one.